Yeah, bring Ronan into this.
Okay.
And just like that, we're live. Hello, YouTube. Uh, you're Stinky. He has a little stink. He's still my baby. I still love him very much. Hi YouTube. It's been quite some time since we've done a live stream. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Jesus' servant and Philip. What's going on? Um, sorry we haven't been doing live streams in a while. Life has been really, really busy. Life's been really good though. Right, babe?
Yeah.
What has life been like for you lately?
I've been a lot more involved in church for sure. Finally found a church feel called to be members of. So been doing like a lot of music with them. Lots of piano playing and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, cool story, bro.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, because I kind of fell out of music for a while. The last several years. The last couple months I've been getting. So it's fun.
Cool.
Put a good creative outlet and worshiping with fellow believers have been awesome. So, yeah.
The last couple of weeks have been very busy for both of us. We had a series of meetings at our church, which we found a church. It has been cool, as
Yeah.
Emily mentioned. It's been nice to have like a community that we keep coming back to. Um, but we had like a series of meetings, like a week of worship, week of prayer type thing. Many of you guys who have been watching The Move have been introduced to Jonathan already. We did a series, like a 10-day series with Jonathan at our home church. And it's been cool to volunteer for that and get involved. And it's been, I don't know, just super fulfilling.
Yeah, that was really impactful for me.
How has it impacted you?
I think just growing up in the church and a Christian, like I always felt like or learned that you have to do like X, Y, and Z to have a relationship with God, but like it's so much more than that. Like, oh, read the Bible, pray, and you'll have a better relationship with God. Which those things do help, but it's like I can have access to God and His Spirit 100% of the day.
Oh, look,
And
the Corvette kid is online. Can you guess who the Corvette kid is?
John.
That's John.
Oh yeah.
Hey, John.
Um, and it's just cool just to live life spirit, like in that way. Not like, oh, I do my X, Y, and Z thing in the morning and then I'll go about my day. That's kind of how I approached my spiritual life.
So how do you approach it now?
Just like receiving the spirit in the morning and just going about my day with the spirit.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Oh, like, so when you do that and when you're in the same mindset, like, opportunities come your way that never would have come before in your day. And it's just cool to just have conversations with people and, like, whoa, that was really a spirit led conversation. That's just been happening.
You've been noticing that this approach to life has impacted like your conversations
For sure.
at work or where?
For at work. Um, yeah, mainly at work and with people, which is I work in like public schools. So for one to talk about God in public schools, that's like you don't do that. But it's more like with coworkers who are open with me, and I'm just like instead of just like saying, "How's your day going?" and they say fine, or I say fine, it's like it has been a challenging day, and like here are the other reasons why, and it kind of just opens up a honest conversation. Yeah, that's cool.
That's good.
Yeah, what about you? I'm kind of out of breath now, so start talking.
What about me? Ask a better question than what about you?
What about you? How have you been living your life differently or the same?
I think that things have been different for me as well. I definitely agree with what you're saying as far as like a lot of times I have kind of performed Christianity, like out of a sense like I need to do X, Y, or Z in order to earn God's favor. So I'll give you an example for me. Like we've talked a lot on this channel about like spiritual disciplines and the value of like Bible study and prayer and things like that. And I still believe that those things are important, but what has been the challenge for me is relating to those in a way that it's not like, oh, I do these things to earn God's favor or to earn salvation or whatever the case is. Where I was actually interesting. I was in a podcast interview earlier today, and they asked me the question, how do you get closer to God? Or actually, what do you do so that you can stay close to God? And I said, you know what? I don't know that I really like that question. I don't think that you do anything to get closer to God. You don't earn that. Like that's not a work that you perform. I think that that's something that you get the privilege as a child of God to live out and experience. And so I know for me in the past, oh, the more I read, the more I pray, the more I do mission, then the closer to God that I will be. And I think that that's kind of like a trap. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I might feel closer to God in that moment, but if God is truly everywhere, then I should be able to experience him at all times, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of what I've been thinking about a little bit since then. We have been doing the move lately, and I say me as in like Jonathan and I, but it's kind of fun for me to watch how the growth of the move is going on, and actually to see you actually watching the videos for a change.
I do watch some of you.
Because you wouldn't normally watch my YouTube videos.
I do watch some, yeah. Not all of them consistently, but
out of like 10 videos, maybe you would watch like one.
Watching them, yeah.
Are you caught up to the move?
No, I'm not yet, but
what episode are you on?
Like 20 or something.
That's pretty good. I don't know if you guys have been able to check out the move yet, but it's something that I've really been excited about. And this week, actually for the next 2 weeks, hanging out with Jonathan a little bit more, trying to figure out what does the future of the move look like. We want to do like a season 2, like on the book of John, perhaps. But beyond that, like what is the purpose of the move? What does it look like? And how do we really help serve people in general? Well, I'm curious to know, and we actually haven't talked about this. And if any of you guys are watching the move too, I'm curious to know your guys' input. Why have you decided to watch the move compared to like all the other videos that I've made and haven't been super interesting to you?
It's just nice to have another person's consistent input. AKA
you don't like to hear my voice?
No. Like, I'm the same way with you. I would way rather do a video with you than by myself, because using you as a sounding board and your input and your ideas and what God has laid on your heart is way more interesting than just one person opinion. Jonathan has a lot of spiritual insight, and so it's just really cool to see you guys vibing through the text together and what God has taught you through the text. Because I can read the text and get something out of it different than you or Jonathan can. Then you can help me see other things that I didn't maybe see first time reading the text, or however many times, obviously. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it for that reason too. Because like, I mean, I might read the Bible and it'll just stay in my head, and then I'll likely forget it by the end of the day. But if I have a conversation with someone about it, it's much more likely to stick.
Yeah.
And to become a real part of my life.
And the way you guys present it is very attractive to your audience, like young people, just because he's a vivacious. You're both vivacious young men. You know?
Vivacious.
I don't know how to say it. Like,
but I'm looking this word up.
I don't even know if I said it right, but you're just like, you can tell. You're easy to connect and
here's the definition of vivacious. It says adjective, especially of a woman, attractive, lively, and animated. So you're saying of Jonathan and I, we are both vivacious.
Sorry, I meant like You're very like, oh, what's that word called?
I don't know.
Relatable, and you're very hip. I don't know. So it's just like easy to relate with you and be like, instead of like, someone high up in the church who's like 70 years old, Doug Batchelor, and somebody else discussing the Bible. It's like you're at our level, So that's cool. Yeah, not like an old pastor talking about the Bible.
So do you think like in 30, 40 years when we're old, I just like, oh no, this is going to be stupid now?
Maybe. I don't know, but I don't know. It's what I think the church needs is young people talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
And their insight. So cool.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the conversations because it's challenged my thinking a lot. It's challenged, like, I think part of the challenge of just reading the Bible by yourself, without a community, without other people to share it with, it's like you just read it and it goes in one ear, out the other.
That's what can happen for sure.
But being forced to have a real conversation about it, like, it actually causes you to think much more critically about it. Like, I'll be honest, because I have to review the footage to edit and all that kind of stuff. When I'm watching the videos back, I'm like, oh, that was a really good point. And I don't even remember like saying those things, or like, how did I come up with that idea from, like, it's just, it feels like a fresh experience each time. And that's, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Joel Javane, what's going on, buddy? 1 a.m. where you're at. We're on the West Coast, so it's only 11 p.m. So it's not terrible.
I'm winding down though.
Although that's true, Emily is
I've been
winding
going
down
all day, and I hung out with my 5-year-old nephew and my twin-year-old nephews who are almost 10. So 3 boys I had for 3 hours today. I'm just like, wow, this is what their mom feels like.
Were you just hanging out with them so that Amanda could have some time off?
Yeah. Like Ryan is going to New York this week, left tonight. And so like I haven't seen them for a long time. I want to spend time with them, but like we were playing on the playground. We were playing that one lava monster game, where you have to stand off the bark chips, and I like was running around. I couldn't catch them, and it was just like it took it out of me. And then I took them out to eat, and it's just like, man. So like working the whole day, and then with my nephews, I'm just like, it was a busy day. I'm a little tired.
Hey, welcome in the chat to Advent Next Podcasts. I've watched very briefly 1 or 2 of your episodes, and very cool concept. To my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like it's just like a normal person interviewing like theologians and talking about like some of those different subjects. They do it out of Andrews University. I think it's Andrews.
Yeah.
Cool concept though. Like what you guys are doing. Should we take a couple questions? Maybe do questions for like 7 minutes and then go to bed? So then it's a 20-minute live stream. Okay. You can tell how excited she is for questions. All right. What's your take on Black Jesus paintings?
I don't have an opinion. I think it's cool because different religions or different cultures interpret Jesus how they would see him in their mind, and I think that's okay to do. Like, obviously he's probably like a Hebrew descent, but hey, if you can relate with Jesus better if he's black in your head, then go. My opinion.
Cool.
Like it's like that one movie, the had Jesus.
Oh, Shack. The Shack. That's right.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there is a sense that, God is all things to all people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's cool. I think it's nice to be able to personify God as someone that you can relate to. Mm-hmm. I certainly can't relate to the blonde, blue-eyed hair version of Jesus.
That's how I picture him in my head because that's what I grew up with in all the Bible stories, but
it was so fun. Like when I was when I was in Germany, I got to go to a museum and it featured like historic art from like an Asian context, from a Japanese context, and all the pictures of the Bible, and specifically like the picture of Jesus. Like Jesus looked like an Asian man. Like he had the beard, he had like the traditional kimonos and all that kind of stuff. That was really interesting. So I think it's nice to be able to have Jesus be someone that's relatable. Do I think it's necessarily accurate historically if Jesus is white? No. Is it historically accurate if Jesus is black? Closer, but maybe not even. Think about what you think of when you think of Middle Eastern people. That's probably closest to what Jesus looked like. So yeah. Adventures in Life says, question for anyone who would like to answer. How do you feel about praying every struggle away? Adventure in Life is asking the question. Anytime a struggle comes along, should we go to our prayer request? Should our prayer requests always be, Lord, please take this struggle away? I don't think that you necessarily need to always be praying that struggles are taken away, though there's certainly that sense. But I think the bigger prayer we can see is like from the life of Jesus, right? Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. He certainly didn't want to go through with the sacrifice he was about to go through. He said, God, let this cup pass from me. But then the point that Jesus makes, and I think that this is the really important point, is nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And so I think that there's a certain sense where God is very happy to listen to our desires and kind of what our preference is. But at the end of the day, I don't know it's so much about God catering to us as much as it is like us conforming to God's will.
Yeah.
So that's the prayer that I tend to pray more, rather than like, do this for me, God, or don't do this for me, God, or take this away. For me, my prayer is more like, all right, God, help me to be willing to do whatever it is that you call me to do.
Yeah.
Open my eyes so that I can see what you're trying to do right now, and not just kind of waiting for things to get better. But there might be a reason why I'm in the belly of a whale. There might be a reason why I am in the wilderness for 40 years. There might be a reason why I'm in the garden suffering and sweating drops of blood. Like that actually might be part of God's plan. And the desire to run away from that thing might actually cause me to miss what God is trying to do in my life.
Oh man.
Emily clearly is not impressed.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I just had a conversation with a coworker yesterday, and she believes in God, but I don't think she goes to church or anything. It isn't a bad thing. I'm just stating her life. But she was saying, why do people ask God for things? Like, if he's like, she doesn't understand, like, he's all knowing and he can, like, why do we ask God for things? I thought that was an interesting question. Like, I've been approaching prayer a little differently recently. Like, I start out with a posture of thankfulness and gratitude towards God, and then like confession, like I struggle with pride, like I give that to you today, God. And then receiving his spirit for the day, like instead of just like coming to God and be like, oh, thank you for this day, but help me to have a good day, help me to, you know, do well on this thing, help my mom to do this, you know, like instead of just always like in the asking stage.
Yeah, I feel like if your prayer life is primarily asking, then you're kind of by default living from a place of scarcity. I don't have this. I don't experience this. God, this is what I need. And not to say that asking for things is necessarily wrong, but if that's like the totality of your prayer, what does that say about your belief in when God says, like, we have every spiritual blessing and we have every good gift?
Yeah.
Like, we have those things already. And so for me, my prayer is less about like what you're saying is asking for things, and more so about God, open my eyes. Like there's that story in the Old Testament where I think it's Elisha and his servant are on a mountain, and then there's like enemies surrounding them, and Elisha's servant is like freaking out. Oh my gosh, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. And Elisha's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're gonna be fine. And the servant's just like, I don't understand. So Elisha bows down and prays, not God, send us help or help us to figure this out or give us strength, like from a position of scarcity. He just simply says, God, open this guy's eyes. And his eyes are open, and he realizes that he's surrounded by chariots of fire. And so for me, I take that to my own life, and I think, okay, in what ways am I blind to what God already sees? And how could me, like, begging and pleading actually be a lack of faith?
Yeah.
And how can I demonstrate faith that God, you are for me, you're not against me, you have my best plan in mind for my life, and even if you don't, I'm going to trust you anyways and be grateful in the middle of it all.
Yeah, I think it really changes your heart, because like even when you go through challenging things, I notice that I do it in a way of gratefulness more than like, oh, poor me, look at me here, you know. It's like, I know this is a challenging time, but my heart is grateful for the other blessings that I have, you know, like another day to live, a nice place to live, food on the table, a good job, you know, husband. Yeah, like you start to see things more as like the gratefulness instead of like poor me, poor me.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Yeah, and I think there's really a science behind that too. Like, if I've heard, like, read studies and some things that like when you have a negative mindset, it actually does affect your brain more than, you know, you realize. Like, you can kind of think yourself sick sometimes.
Oh
like
yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
Effect, you know, so it's just interesting. So negative mindsets can, you know, make yourself worse, actually. So
yeah, like what's that text say? Like, give thanks in all things, right? Like, that's not just a thing that you crochet and put on a pillow.
Yeah,
like that's advice for how we ought to live our life in every season. Be giving thanks because God has done so much for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's cool to hear you articulate that, because we haven't really had this conversation together about like how that's shifting for you and your prayer life and and just like your general life experience. Because I know for you, you're definitely someone who maybe not likes to, but tends to stress out about things a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
And sees a cup half empty as opposed to half full.
Yeah. Yeah. So really positive. Sure.
Feel like it's a better way to live.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, my life may not be like roses and rainbows right now, but it's like I can live grateful. Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that said, you guys can tell how tired Emily is. Zoom in on her face.
Yeah. I put makeup on at the beginning of the day. It's still kind of there.
So, thanks for bearing with us, guys. I know we haven't done a live stream in a long time. Feels like a long time, at least. I know that I used to do them very, very regularly, but life has been crazy. As you can tell, producing The Move has been a lot of hard work, and we're already thinking about season 2 of The Move and everything else.
Oh, Brian, thanks. You said you guys are the best, girl.
Thanks, Brian.
You're the best.
Hopefully we can do more of these kinds of live streams in the future. I think that'd be fun. Anyways, guys, it's getting late. I've got a long day tomorrow, and yeah, I don't know. Anything you want to share with them? A word of encouragement or advice?
Watch The Move.
Watch The Move. That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, it will help you spiritually.
How? Give them an idea of what to expect. How does it help them spiritually?
Just, I've been learning a lot recently about life in the spirit and what that looks like practically, and just what you guys talk about. Really, it's practical. It's not just like, oh, here's what the Bible says and how, yeah, that's it. You know, it's like practical stuff. So, which I really like. What?
Cool.
That's what we all want, right? How does it apply to our lives, and how can it change our walk with God? Like, that's what I want to hear. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but
it's super cool because every once in a while, clearly she's not up to date, but every once in a while I get to like see you just watching those videos, and it just brings joy to my heart.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, anywho, we'll see you guys in the future. You know what they should do? If you guys care to, follow on Instagram at Emily Koo. Why all the faces?
Okay. I mean,
We just
am
we
not-
just spent like the last 3 days shooting a ton of photographs with a friend who's been visiting.
Yeah.
So I'm putting way more time and energy into Instagram.
I need to like format my. I need to learn about it. Anyways, just because like my Instagram kind of was previously kind of all from me and just like, oh, here's my cool life, and whatever. Which
So,
isn't
is this
a,
how you think?
which isn't
Oh,
a
here's my
bad thing,
cool
but like
life.
I kind of want to just like be more uplifting to people and like stuff spiritually I've been learning, or yeah, more on my social. Yeah, that is yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll talk to you guys whenever the next episode is. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Yeah.